If you think about it, a blog is a lot like a newspaper or a magazine. You constantly publish new content, and you have multiple authors and contributors who create this content. And just like a newspaper or a magazine, you need to have an editorial hierarchy with clearly defined roles so everyone working on the blog knows who they answer to, and so that the editorial decisions are consistent and in line with the overall company policies. On the strategy card, you have an editorial map. Before we move on, we need to fill in this map, putting a name to each of the tiers and ensuring that the roles and responsibilities for each of these tiers are clearly defined. At the top, you find the editor-in-chief. This person is the de facto owner of the blog and is the person who answers for its contents. The editor-in-chief has final say on what gets published. She is responsible for ensuring that all content is in line with company and blog policies and goals. Finally, she makes sure that the tone and presentation of the content is correct. The second tier is the content manager, responsible for finding and commissioning content for all of or a subgroup of topics. The content manager would answer to the editor-in-chief and serve as a filter for her. The third tier is the content editor, responsible for receiving and editing content before it reaches the content manager. The fourth tier is the contributor. This is a tier in which the content itself is produced before being sent to the content editor. These tiers will differ depending on the size of your company. For a small company, 1 or 2 people can fulfill these roles, but for a large company, it can be a good idea to distribute roles across many staffers. In a real-life scenario, the structure would work something like this. The editor-in-chief could call for content. The content manager would find the right person in the company to produce this content. The contributor would produce the content. The content editor would handle cleanups, revisions, and rewrites. The content manager would look over the content, ensuring it's in line with what was commissioned. And finally, the editor-in-chief receives the content, checks to make sure it's in line with goals and policies, and tells the content manager to publish it to the blog. The reason for this structure is to make sure there's oversight at each stage in the process. By clearly defining roles, it will lessen the load on a single person by distributing responsibility across the different tiers. And yes, as you can see, this essentially means there will be a person in your company whose main focus or sole job is to be the editor-in-chief or owner of the blog.